Hey everybody, it's the kid here. Got a good video here of a second place finish in a pretty large multi-table tournament. It's a $2 one rebuy, one add-on here. You can see there was 2,822 players. There's currently about 148 left. Looks like that makes the payout about 1622. Not too bad, but you know we're shooting for deeper, and obviously I made second, as I said. You can see here right now that I'm sitting about 8th place of 161. Well, let's see here, 10 of 148. So got a pretty good chip stack here. I'm gonna run you down hands that I either played or I thought were important to show versus a lot of the push fold poker that kind of goes on at this stage of the tournament. So let's get started here. You can see Jack 9. I'm obviously gonna muck it here. We get a shove. You know, a lot of players are doing that as a position, trying to pick up the blinds because the blinds are pretty big at this point. You can see here the player debates it a couple times, but generally, I'm going to say most of the time a move like that is going to pick up the blinds for you. Only really strong hands can really call you there. It is a $2 tournament, so you do see some crazy thing happen. Some players will call you with really marginal and a wide range, so you really got to be watching what type of hands players are going to call you down with and know that when you do make that move, are you making it against a player that's more likely to fold and play back at you. So we get a decent raise out of that player, and again, everyone just folds. As you get deep into the top players in a tournament like this, you'll see that most hands don't even make it to the flop. So your pre-flop and flop play basically is where most of your strategy is going to be done. If you make it to the turn or the river, obviously you're pretty committed by that point, and usually up against a pretty solid hand. 8-2 suited here on the big blind. You're not often going to get a walk, but it does happen from time to time. I'm pretty sure this player, is fairly aggressive and has a pretty wide range of hands that they're willing to play. Five-nine in small blind. You see here that I'm pretty sure this player is going to raise again. Nope. We do get one of those shoves. As I say, we get a call. Okay, now we got to show down ace-7 versus ace-10. His shove on the ace-7 there was trying to pick him up the blinds, and you can get lucky. As you've seen, he did get lucky and took down the ace-10. Didn't damage the ace-10 call there. I can't say I would call with ace-10. The player did look pretty desperate via his chip stack, so let's say the ace-10 is behind a lot of hands that he's going to do that with, but ahead of a few, so I don't know, it's a marginal call there. I think I'm laying down ace-10 there in the big blind to the shove. So here's a decent hand. I got pocket sixes. Late position here. One before the button. I believe at the time my least favorite player at the table comes in with the raise again. I call the raise here, hoping to catch a straight, or not a straight, but a set. I end up flopping the weak end of a straight draw. The player checks. Definitely going to bet at it here. I make a bet. Player does come over the top all in. I mean, there's a good possibility. Jack 10. I mean, 10-9, maybe a couple spades. I'm drawn to the weak end of the straight. I really can't call off my chips here, knowing the range, like I had said a little bit ago, that this player has. You got to get away from a hand like that. You got to be able to make some laydowns. I don't think it was mathematically profitable to make the call there with only 36% odds to win the hand. So obviously Jack 6 not a very good hand here, and I don't even think a good spot to steal. Hence where we are at in the tournament, and the player stacks behind me. So I'm pretty sure this is a hand where we get to begin to understand the wide range this player will play. I mean, calls with 9-3. Obviously this player hits the flush. Ace 10, decent shove spot, especially for how many chips they had left. I think they may have even waited a little too long. Ace 2 suited, come in with a 3x raise. Kind of marginal, but I got a pretty tight image. I do get called by Buki behind me here. I do know that his call range is fairly wide. With the all-in here, I mean, he's got more than 10 BBs. It's really gonna hurt if I do call. I mean, you win some, you lose some. I did come in with the 3x, but I think you got to get away from a hand like this here. I mean, you do have a lot of combinations that you can hit. You could have quite a few hands that he could have crippled. You see it's kings versus king jack. I would have hit the open-ended flush and straight draw, but I would have completed. Would have lost a good chunk of chips. Really think that's a good fold spot there with the ace 2 suited. Maybe not even a good open 3x like I did. Really could have got away from it there too. Probably a slight mistake hand, but here we got another all-in. I think very appropriate. About 11 BBs. You got to get it in there. Again, our favorite player tries to come along with an ace 8. Ends up hitting 3/8, taking a player out. I mean, I've said it a couple times, the range that that player has, and I actually am kind of targeting that player now. I mean, I know if I can get it in with a good hand, the possibility of them calling me with something marginal is pretty good. I limp here with 4-4, first act, hoping to kind of get there cheap. Not really minding if someone does come in with a raise behind me. A lot of times if when I call here and hit a set, I can get a player to stack off quite a bit amount of chips. They usually put you on something like an ace king, ace queen. Perfect situation here. I hit the set, I check it, player comes at a really low bet into the pot. A check raise and a 3-bet, 4-bet. I get them all in. I end up hitting quad 4s. Pretty nice. Really good spot in the tournament there. I mean, I really didn't need the 4th 4, but the situation played itself out. I mean, getting it all in with the ace 5 there. Pretty marginal. Fairly standard loose play I see in tournaments like this. Ironically, the new player sat at the table. Whip Artist there is the player I ended up getting heads up with at the end of this tournament. Fairly solid player. Again, our incredibly aggressively loose wide range player comes in. I remember looking up the player stats on online poker rankings, and it was not very impressive. So we get a under 3x raise and a shove, and a call with ace queen versus ace 10. Player catches their 10 and doubles through. I mean, the ace queen call there with the 7 BBs fairly okay. I mean, obviously there's a read there. The player bet under 3x raise, which was fairly odd, so something to kind of watch for that I watched for the rest of the tournament there. Player had just continued to raise 3x or more, taking down pots, so I kind of knew when they were even playing a much more marginal hand. So the blinds being 4 and 8,000, player coming in for 29.99. Kind of interesting, a little more than 3x. Kind of early. I mean, you have to put them on a pretty strong hand here. Of course, they get it all in and pocket aces. Obviously, the more than 3x raise kind of gave that away. But it was kind of nice to see him run through the warrior up there and take some more of their chips. So you can see here a few hands later, I think the downward spiral of the warrior is happening here. Comes in for, again, an under 3x raise. Got to put him on at least that ace queen range. We could re-raise. Blinds being 4 and 8, yeah, with 11, 17. It's okay to just re-raise and not get it all in there. I'm not sure. I might get it all in against the warrior if I had a really good hand. It called out very light, as we've seen. I'm obviously not going to play the hand, but I believe the warrior is going to get it all in. We'll see a snap call. It's my prediction. I mean, the fact that they're thinking about it, wow, it was surprising. I remember it was surprising that the player folded, and I was surprised that they folded there. I actually forgot that the player was so aggressive that they actually were able to lay down in that spot. Didn't leave him with very many big blinds. I may have got it in there if I was the warrior with maybe ace 10 better, any pocket pair. Kind of crossed my fingers at that point. A just over 2x raise. I come in with the jack 9. Actually get top pair here. There are a couple hearts on the board. I had position. That's why I called with the jack 9 suited. I get 2 checks behind. Pot's about 6,200. Gonna throw out 44, 655. I like to be random with the numbers I put in. If you've seen any of my other videos. Call really makes me feel that this player's on a draw. They could have jack queen, king jack. Again, pot fairly big at this point. After that bet, I'm a little nervous. Player does end up shoving here when the heart hits. I put him on the flush draw. When they called on the flop, I have to pretty much think that they made it here. And above and beyond that, there's 3, 4, 5, 7. I mean, a 6 easily out there with that weak, barely 2x come in. I mean, a lot of small suited connectors fit that range. Could have had the straight. Not a spot where you can call. I mean, we're left with enough big blinds to be able to take down this thing. So I think Got to get away from a hand like that there. Comes around throwing a little bet with the king queen there, pick it up. Gonna steal here. Nope, not gonna steal here. Quite a few hands later, pocket eights, under the gun, 3 exit, blinds being 5 and 10,000 now. I could argue even a 4x early here, trying to just pick up the blinds. Get a call from the button. Decent stack. Hit a set on the flop. I'm going to come at it here about 3/4 the pot. 106,000 pot, about 75.9. There's a flush draw out there. I feel like I could get chased by quite a few diamond draws. An ace queen, king queen. With a 3x raise call, it's a lot of their range. Player gets it in. I'm excited to get mine in. Bam, nailed down their range. King queen there. 7 comes and it's pretty much a dead deal for him. And bam, we're up to 452. Ace 3 suited, big blind here. Hopefully an opportunity to see a flop. The 3x with the limp out of whip artist I think should have been 40,000. I don't know, it's a personal thing of mine. Some limps I really got to add to that 3x raise. Not the worst flop. Knowing the 3x raise there. Again, that's a lot of high card. Ace king, ace queen, king queen. But the limp call fits his range very well with 5 6s and 6 7s. I figured if I could hit the 3 though, I could roll through this player's stack. They may have 2 pair. I didn't think they had a set at this point. I hit the 3. I check raise here. I get the player to get it in. Again, I'm happy to call, and they show pocket 5s. Really weak play there. I mean, they couldn't hit a straight when they were only hoping for 2 outs. I mean, it was pretty easy that I had a 3 there with my weak call behinds, but hey, I'm more than willing to take those chips. So we get a 3x raise, and then we get a re-raise, about 3 times their raise, and a call. Really surprising. Silent did that with an 8-6. I mean, it just goes show the range that he will 3x with, but it cost him his entire chip stack. Ace king of spades. Would have re-raised any open. Obviously going to put in a 3x here. I like to make it the same all the time. Makes it really hard to define my hand, especially in these low buy-in tournaments. I don't think the players are paying enough attention to start to understand that they could exploit that if they wanted. Can check our progress here real quick. second place. Cool 908,000 chips. 81 players. King Jack of Spades on the button. If it folds around, I'm going to raise. Possibly would have called a raise. I don't like limping. I'm generally going to come up over the top of the limps with a wide range of hands. I just find that at this level, players limping usually have a weak hand they're willing to fold. So again, I 4x because of the limp instead of 3x. Kind of like I thought, player usually willing to limp, so willing to get away from a hand like that. Ace-5 off. There's a few hands later. I think it was a good opportunity to try and still, so I 3x it. And it ends up being an okay place to do that. I mean, it was a weak hand. I think my intention was there to just pick up the blinds because I hadn't played a hand in a while. May not have been the best spot to do it because it was Warriors blind and they do call off pretty light. I think I remember them getting fairly tight, as you've seen. We haven't seen much action out of them. I'm not showing every hand, but well, here we end up with middle pair against a large stack. When he comes up over the top, I really got to give him credit for an ace. I mean, he could be on the flush draw too. I'm limited at outs, 5 outs. Some of my outs are taken away because of the clubs too. So I'm limited to 3 outs. Really don't feel like this is a good spot to continue on with the hand, especially via the stack. Don't want to risk any more chips with that player at that moment. Some connectors here. A less than 2x and a call. I may have had some implied odds to maybe play there,